So, to collect this data, I manually went through each episode and counted the time each of the characters were on screen. The criteria that I used to be included in the bar chart was that a character must have appeared in at least 2 episodes, which basically meant only the regular cast, but I did also include the main vehicles used in the show as well. It's no surprise that Walter had the most screen time in the series. I don't know if he was written this way or if it's his acting, but I hated the way that Desi Arnaz Jr. played Walter. He was always pouting to the other characters. I disliked the way that for some reason from the middle of the season onwards he seemed to become like a ninja with amazing fighting skills, but it was never explained how this happened. Everyone also seemed to treat him like a child, and in a lot of episodes he acted like one as well. I didn't really like him as a character or feel any warmth or worry about him if he got into danger, which is not great for the lead of a show like this. We should be engaged with them and care about their safety. I do wish there'd been a different actor in the role. Automan was played by Chuck Wagner. I think he played the role of Automan okay, but the character was wrong on many levels. I really hated the way they seemed to define some rules for him at the beginning of the season, but then ignore them as the show went along. Specifically, the way he could not be around in the daytime, for instance. I believe for shows like this they would normally write a rule book which explains what can and can't be done by the characters. This would then be given to the writers to help them create the episodes. I don't think this happened for the show, and it should have, or they basically ignored it. I really wish they'd given him abilities like they had in the Matrix films. He'd be able to download abilities when he needed them, such as in the episodes where he was playing the guitar and dancing. I think this would have been more realistic than him learning by watching someone, because he should only in theory be able to reproduce what he's watched, or for Walter to have seemingly programmed him with some useless skills in advance. Jack was written as quite a progressive policeman. He seemed to be good at his job, and he was obviously friends with the captain, but he was also open to using Walter's skills to solve crime. I quite liked him as a character. I do wish he'd found out about Automan and his abilities. I think this might have created some good storylines for the show. Roxanne confused me. She did actually have a bigger role than other female characters had in other shows, such as Rachel in Street Hawk, but I still don't actually know what her job was. She appeared to be the captain's secretary, but then she went undercover with Jack on operations. She also seemed to be stringing Walter along romantically for most of the show. At the end of the series, she did appear to be starting a relationship with him, but we obviously didn't get to see where that went. I was not a fan of Captain Boyd. He was written as an old-school chief that distrusted technology, and he was quite offensive to Walter. It could be difficult for me to relate to the captain now, as technology is so integral to our lives today, and things were different back then, but there's no excuse for his behaviour to others. Without Cursor, Automan would not have had most of the abilities that he did have, or be able to generate the vehicles that were used. It's really weird how they wrote Cursor as basically a sex pest. He was always harassing women in the episodes. He actually has his own page on the IMDb website, and the Automan series is his only acting credit. I did hear rumours that he turned to drink after the show and was unable to get any other acting roles, and apparently he's now living in a trailer park near Las Vegas. The autocar was a thing of beauty. It was a Lamborghini, and I'm quite sure it is one of the reasons that the show cost so much money to make. I'm not a car enthusiast, but that is definitely one car that I would love to drive. I thought the autocopter was quite cool, and I liked the transition they had when they changed from the car to the helicopter. I think it worked quite well. The rules were confusing though for the way it worked. In some episodes it flew freely through the air, and in others it could only make those sharp 90-degree turns that we see the autocar make. I actually thought the autobike was quite ugly. We didn't really see much of it or its abilities, other than it was fairly quick. It seems odd that they didn't use it more in the episode that it appeared in. The reason they gave was that it was a racing bike, but they could easily have made it look and behave like one of the other bikers' bikes. It just seemed a bit pointless. The autojet didn't make sense to me. Automan needed to be near a power source for him to recharge to keep his form, and the vehicles that Cursor generates for him. The jet was used when he needed to travel long distances. In the pilot episode, he travelled to a different country and must have gone over water to get there. There is no way he could have kept his power flying that distance, and Walter would likely have plummeted to his death into the icy water at some stage during the journey, which might not have been an entirely awful thing to happen. I loved this show when I was little, and it's one of those programmes that I always remember fondly as I got older, even now after everything I've said. Unfortunately, I don't think the show holds up to scrutiny today, and the tech and writing is very dated. I do understand why it only lasted 13 episodes, as it was very expensive to make. I don't think the stories were very good, and the acting left a little bit desired. Some of the effects were good for the time, and most of the vehicles were quite cool, but I don't think it was enough for the viewers. I do actually think a modern remake could work if they changed the way he looked and the rules for the way he worked and stuck to them. It could be an interesting concept, but I guess people may have the same thoughts that I'm having now in 35 years' time looking back at it. Really hope you liked this video. Let me know what you thought about it in the comments below. Watch out for other videos on my channel. Be seeing you.